If you're listening to this right now, I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. Because somewhere deep inside you already know this truth. You outgrew the version of yourself that accepted less, but your heart hasn't caught up yet. And that's why you feel torn, confused, and emotionally tired. Because growth doesn't always arrive with excitement. Sometimes it arrives with grief. Grief for the person you were, the dreams you attach to people, and the future you imagine that no longer fits who you're becoming. And the hardest part about self-growth isn't change. It's letting go of what once felt safe, even when it's no longer healthy. Because familiarity can feel like love when you don't know peace. And that's why you stayed in situations that drained you, explained your feelings to people who minimize them, and convinced yourself that patience would eventually turn into appreciation. But growth has a quiet way of waking you up. It shows you that love isn't proven by how long you endure pain, and loyalty isn't measured by how much of yourself you sacrifice. Because the moment you start healing, you realize how much energy you wasted trying to be understood by people who never intended to understand you. And it hurts, not because you lost them, but because you lost yourself trying to keep them, and now you're standing at a point where staying feels like betrayal to your soul and leaving feels like stepping into the unknown. But listen carefully. Self-growth always feels lonely at first because you're walking away from patterns that once defined you, and the silence after distance can feel uncomfortable. But it's also where clarity lives. Because when the noise fades, you finally hear your own needs, your own boundaries, your own worth. And you start realizing that real love doesn't confuse you. Real love doesn't make you anxious. And real love doesn't require you to abandon yourself to keep it alive. And the version of you that's growing now isn't heartless. They're just tired of bleeding quietly, tired of overgiving, tired of hoping people will change while slowly losing themselves. And one day you'll look back and understand that walking away wasn't failure, it was alignment. Because growth isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before you learned to settle, before you learned to stay silent, before you learned to shrink. And the moment you stop chasing closure from people who hurt you and start creating peace within yourself, everything changes. Your standards rise, your nervous system calms, your heart softens in a healthier way, and you no longer confuse intensity with intimacy. Because the right people won't need convincing, they won't need reminders, and they won't make you question your worth. So if you're in a season where you're losing people, losing comfort, and losing versions of yourself that no longer fit, don't panic. You're not breaking, you're becoming. And growth doesn't look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself quietly and never explaining it again.